absolute pleasure to introduce you to our guest speaker today. Reverend Connie Phelps is homegrown. She is here out of the Calgary Center. Many, many years ago, she was in the same ministerial class with Reverend Leslie Neal as well. And since then, she has, she calls herself a spiritual gypsy. And she has moved and changed the world in many, many different places. From here, she moved to Edmonton and served as a staff assistant minister there. Then she moved to Toronto and helped found the center in Toronto. Then she went to Winnipeg and worked as the senior minister in Winnipeg for several years. Then she moved to Kamloops and started the center there in Kamloops. And now she started a Center for Spiritual Living in Kenya. Right? She is truly, truly being a beacon of spiritual illumination for us as she changes the world. Please put your hands together for Reverend Connie.
So exciting. Let me just let you go for a moment. I'm home. Okay, this is good. Wow. Being in this movement has transformed my life. And I've been witness to it transforming many, many people's lives over the years. How many people here today have felt a transformation in your life by being part of this movement? Anybody? Yeah, absolutely, because that's what it's all about. It's about transforming consciousness, right where we are. As Dr. Pat said, I love that. It's right where we are. So I love to ask this question because it just thrills me every time I ask it. So, how many people here remember the first day that you walked into a religious science center? You know, everybody remembers that day. I just love that. I too remember the very, very first day I walked into a center. It was here in Calgary. It's back in January, I think it was the 8th of 1992. And some of you may remember Reverend Dr. Heather Clark. She was a staff minister. No, it was her first talk that she did as she was going through ministerial classes here in Calgary. She's the very, very first person. And I remember sitting there going, wow, this is so incredible. Because I think what happens is truth is truth. And when we hear truth, we recognize truth. And that's why we remember that, because it ignites something that's within us. So it's fascinating to me because when I first went to Kenya, back in 2010 was the first time I went. And I remember one of my very first experiences. I had been invited to speak to a group of people in a slum. Now, you know, people get their backs up when they hear that word, but that's what they call the area. Okay, so I went into the slum and I'm sitting in this room and there's a sea of very stoic faces staring back at me. And all of a sudden I had one of those, oh my God, moments. I had one of those moments going, what did you think you were doing? How could you possibly have gave up your church, sold everything that you have, moved around the world? What did you think you were doing? How can you so I had a moment. Anybody hear any moment of panic? Okay, well that was mine. And I thought, I've just made the biggest mistake of my life. What have I done? So I closed my eyes for a minute and I just breathed before I got up and bolted out of the room or something silly. And I heard inside of me that that truth. And so what I heard was, it doesn't matter, and I don't know whose voice it was, but it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what color you are, how old you are, what gender you are, what sex you are. It does not matter. None of that matters. None of that matters. Truth is truth, and it doesn't matter. All you have to remember is the truth. And I thought, okay, I can do that. That much I can do. I know how to speak science of mind. I know what, I recognize truth, and that's all I need. So when I remember that, things go really easy. So I opened my eyes and I said that. I said, so you're probably wondering what this white woman from Canada possibly has to offer you that would make any difference in your life. And all of a sudden they started to smile. Bingo, that's it. That's all we have to remember. Truth is truth. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're on, it's all the same truth. So, I remember, and some of you are in this with me, because I remember you from when I first started back in the 90s. It used to be a cult. Right? Well, now we're so mainstream, who knows? But it's still kind of like that in Africa, you know? It's still got this whole stigma attached to the movement. But I remember what it was like. I remember sort of thinking, oh my goodness, I can't tell anybody where I'm going on Sundays. You know, they're going to think I'm in this weird thing or something, you know? So it's still kind of like that over there. And so it's been a really interesting thing, because in Africa, I have to take all of the books. When I teach a class, I have to take everything with me because I can't get anything there. So, you know, I'm always schlepping, like I can take up to 10 suitcases on KLM. Can you imagine? One person, 10 suitcases. This is awful fun. I've done it 3 years in a row, so I'm getting used to it. But I take all of that stuff with me because, you know, here, we really are mainstream. We can turn on the TV, we can pick up a book, it's everywhere. It's not new anymore. And so it isn't that way there. It's still really, really new. And the students that are being attracted to the teaching there are so appreciative of the tools that are being provided. And so the title of my talk today is called Radical Manifestations. Because what I've noticed is, man, can they manifest? It's like, I've never seen anything like it, and I've been in this movement for a while. It's absolutely been incredible to watch. Dr. Holmes says this: there is something in us which was never put there by experience, but which all experience is the outcome. Let us consciously enter into the spirit within, which is at the same time both God and man. All the good there is, all the power there is, all the God there is the living spirit of love and life, the essence of beauty and truth. The essence of truth, of what that is. So, I've asked myself this question about the truth and what it is that we teach, and I wondered, why is it that they seem to manifest at such incredible levels? I mean, in so awe of these people, it's so incredible. So I have determined what I believe are 3 contributing factors. And what I love about that is we can use them here too and remember them. So it's not just, you know, it's not an isolated thing, but I think it's a really important thing for us to remember. So the first thing is that it's really new. It's really new. So, I don't know about you, Pat, but you might recognize this. I noticed over the years teaching in Canada, people would come to the center on Sunday, but they think, you know, that they may or may not ever come to class, because I heard this often. People would say, I already know that. I've been studying this for years. I've been studying this for years. What have you got to offer me that I don't already know? I already know it. So what I know is, what we think we know gets in the way of what we used to know. I think that was Carol Carnes, right? So, they don't have that I know mindset already setting them up. They are so open to know something new. And so, I think what's important in that for us to remember for ourselves, when you want to manifest something in your life, you've got to ask yourself, what is it I think I already know about this? What is it that I think I know that I need to unknow, and what is it that I truly need to know? Because I remember one time somebody said to me in class, well, I already know this, this is nothing new. And I thought, yes, and look at your life. Look at your life, because it's all about the experience, it's all about the expression, it's all about what we're manifesting out here is the indicator of what's going on in here. So if it's a mess out there, trust me on this, there's a mess going on in here. Okay? Like, I know that is true. So you may think you know something, but what it is you think you know is holding you back from truly embodying what it is that you need to know. And so that's the first thing. Oh, I remember, who remembers Dr. Arlene Baum? Okay, beautiful. Well, when I first started coming in 1992, Dr. Arlene was still the minister here before Dr. Carol Carnes came. So Carol came in that summer, and I started classes that fall, did all of my training with Dr. Carol, but Dr. Arlene was the first one. And I remember her saying something one morning that has stuck with me all of these years. And she said, you know, people come into this teaching one of two ways: inspiration or desperation. And I haven't met anybody that's come from inspiration yet. I saw Dr. Arlene at the conference in Kelowna recently, and I reminded her of that. She laughed like crazy. She said, that's still true! So what I know is the people that are, with these levels of desperation, right? So the people in Kenya are really desperate. They're really desperate. They have that level of desperation of really wanting to change. So that's the second thing I want to talk about. In that culture of extreme poverty and limited, they think there's limited resources. Because that's their culture. It's been so ingrained for so many years. One of their common sayings is, I have to struggle. I have to struggle. They say that all the time about everything. I struggle to get to work. I struggle to make the bills. I struggle. Oh my goodness. The first thing I teach them is struggle. We don't have to struggle anymore. But it's that extreme victimization that they have been immersed in for millennia. What that has done is, or what I see, is when they decide to do spiritual mind treatment and they are wanting to manifest something in their lives, they really want to manifest something in their lives. They're just not kind of wishing things might. Who wants something to be different? Anybody? Okay, so the difference is, I think many of us, we would really like something to be different in our lives. But what I know is, in order for something to change, we have to change. And so I think we're so comfortable in the Western world. We're so comfortable, I mean, really, seriously, what do we really need? That desperately. And so we've got such a level of comfort that, yeah, we might want this or might want that, but really, it's not life or death. And so when you're doing your treatment work and you really want to manifest something, you've got to ask yourself, how badly do I really want what I want? Because I think that's a huge contributing factor when we don't manifest what it is that we say we want. Because it's sort of like a desire, and we might want it at some level, but then it's, well, then something else comes along and we kind of lose our focus and we're on to the next thing and we're on to the next thing. But these people manifest radically because they really, really, really want what it is they say they want. And they're willing to do the work to get it. This is the third thing that I want to talk to you about this morning. So, in Kenya, and I'm sure this is true for most of Africa, but I'm going to speak to Kenya because that's where I'm at. It's still largely an oral speaking environment. I'm in Nairobi, and Nairobi is a huge, like 6 million people. It's a cosmopolitan center. It's not the backwoods of Kenya. But I got to tell you, you don't have to go far out of the city to get into the backwoods of Kenya, where things are radically different. And so things are a little bit different within Nairobi, unless you go into the slum school or into the slum areas where I go to do the work, some of the work that I'm doing. But they still often don't have the books to teach from, or it's just not available. Yes, they could go on the internet, but most of them can't afford to go on the internet anyway, even if they had the resources. They don't have the computers, so they don't have the accessibility to information. And so because it's still predominantly an auditory system, in the schools, how they've been learned to teach is really repetition and regurgitation. I get there's some of that in our schools still. You got to learn what you need to learn to write the exam, right? There's still some of that goes on. But truly, what happens is the teachers will stand at the front of the room and they'll give them a sentence and the kids repeat it back. And they give them a sentence and that's pretty much how they learn. And so you think, well, that's a pretty limited way to learn, but there's an interesting side benefit of this. Because what I've noticed is, with the students that I have, that when I tell them something, they remember it. And even better, they do it. So what happens is, so I'm going to back up just a little bit. Also, Kenya is, like there's 46 million, here, little history, just a tad bit. Kenya, the country, is smaller than Alberta land-wise. 46 million people, there's what, 3 point some in Alberta now? There's 35 million in all of Canada, which is bigger than all of Africa. And so I don't know how much in all of Africa, but Kenya itself. So lots of, very densely populated. Okay, so out of those 46 million people, 80% of them are fundamental Christian. 11% are Muslim. 9% are other things. But when I talk about fundamental Christian, man, they got the crazies over there. They really did. And I hate to think I'm one of those, so maybe I better change that idea. But they got the really radical crazies over there. They truly did. There's scary stuff. Anyway, so this is the background that most of the students are coming out of. They're coming out of that, evangelical fundamental Christianity, which means the good part of that, they pray. And they know how to pray, and that's part of their lifestyle. Their whole life revolves around church. So here you notice, the churches are closing and the numbers are shrinking, but not just like all over the place in the Western world. Well, that's not so. They're growing. Their whole life. Church is a whole day affair. They don't just go for an hour in the morning. It's quite radical. But anyway, so what happens is when I give them the tools of spiritual mind treatment, they love it. Because now they have a formula to pray. And man, can they pray. So, another thing you may have noticed that sometimes in class, I know I've had this experience, and people say, 5 steps? Why 5 steps? Why do I have to do 5 steps? I want to do it my own way. I want to do 1 step. Why do I have to do it in this order? Pat's laughing. You've heard that, right? Yeah, well, they don't do that. I love it. I love it. So when I tell them to, okay, so I'm going to ask, why do we do treatment the way we do treatment? Anybody? Why? Because it works. Thank you, Neil. Because it works. Duh. Why change the wheel? So when this is so exciting. I love telling people what to do, so this is so good for me. So, yeah, so when I tell them what to do, they do it. It's so exciting. So they do treatment, they do affirmations, they meditate, they do their spiritual practice. How many people here actually do spiritual practice every day? Yeah, oh, one of you over here. Truly, we know that it's good for us. We know that we should be doing it. But life gets in the way. Well, they make it a priority. It's a priority. It's what they do. So if we remember, I think if we remember those 3 things. Number 1, ask yourself what it is that I think I know and what do I need to really know. Number 2, what was number 2? Oh yeah, how badly do I want what I want? And number 3, do your spiritual work. If we remember to do those 3 things, trust me on this, your life will radically change, and you too will have radical manifestations in your life. So I invite you to, if you haven't been to class or haven't been for a while, go, be part of it, do your work. Do the work that you need to do in order to get the results that you want to get. And your life too will be transformed. I know it, I guarantee it. It is so good, and so it is.